Well, in the wake of the global economic downturn, we've heard a lot about its effects on retirees and older workers' superannuation packages. But what about the younger generations, those who have recently embarked on their careers and have many years left in the workforce? What are the pitfalls for them and the opportunities? For more on this, I'm joined by Scott Pape from the Barefoot Investor. Good morning, Scott Pape. Welcome to Business Today. Now, Generation Y has no memory of a drop in the economy, so is there a sense that they are concerned, or are they unaware?
I think they're unaware. Anyone under the age of 30's never experienced anything like we're seeing at the moment. For them, property prices increase, stocks increase, unemployment remains low. So this is, for a lot of young people, the first time they've experienced anything like this.
Now, Scott Pape, most people in their 20s consider the business and investing very boring and very dry. So what's the best approach then to get them interested?
Well, generally my experience from talking to thousands of young people about money, the best motivating factor is a really small cubicle and a tough boss in the first few years of work, because you go through there, you have a bit of fun when you get out of university or leave school, and then it hits you and you think to yourself, gee, I've got another 20 or 30 years of this thing they call work, I better make sure it pays. Generally speaking, that's when people start to get interested in building assets and turning income into assets.
So would you say then that younger generations of workers, they will benefit long term from this downturn as they can start, investing at the bottom of the market?
Yeah, I'm hugely optimistic, even though there are some there are really serious ramifications for all investors. For younger people, especially at the start of their working lives, we're seeing the super guaranteed, the contributions that are being made are obviously dollar cost averaging. They're at a very low base, and they've got, in some cases, 20, 30 years before they pull on the sandals and socks and retire. So that's going to help them. But the second thing is that it allows young people, for the first time in many years, to get a foothold, that first rung in the property ladder. You've got the government helping out in a number of ways. The first one is the First Home Savers Account, which allows young people to start saving with some contributions from the federal government. The second one is the Prime Minister has announced that they've doubled, in some cases tripled, the First Home Buyers grant. So in many cases, you're also seeing interest rates go down and property prices soften. So this is an optimistic thing for young people who are starting to get a foothold in the market with a pullback in asset prices.
Now, you mentioned those government incentives there to get people on the road to, saving and investing. But when people are beginning to invest, what other sorts of strategies are you suggesting that they get involved with?
There's two, and I don't think they've changed forever. The first one is to make sure, I've been preaching through my column and through my book and website the importance of saving, and that's fallen on deaf ears for the last few years, but now we're having the rainy day. I've always suggested that people have at least 30 days savings, just in case that can ride them out in tough times. But secondly, buy and hold. And that buy and hold strategy has never been more appropriate now at such a low base, given that young people have got decades to let the miracle of compound interest really help their returns.
Now, but what about communicating this to young people? I think I read in one of your columns that you talk about Justin Timberlake bringing sexy back, but you actually want to bring savings back. It's not a very sexy topic, but it is important, as you mentioned. So are they really becoming aware of its importance? How are you communicating that to them?
I think the most important thing to understand is that there is a perception that young people are all live for today. They don't care about tomorrow. Certainly young people, probably like most people, don't think at the age of in their 20s think that they're ever going to make it until they're 60. That's just too far off. However, I think the one thing that has changed from other generations is we've had one of the biggest asset bubbles in history, and for a lot of young people, especially getting into their early 30s, if they didn't buy a house before interest rates basically halved an asset and property prices doubled, they're sitting on the property sidelines. Now, what they're seeing seeing, they're very motivated to actually get some assets behind them because in many cases they're still renting. We've seen the CBA has a housing affordability index. It's been at record lows for years now. So what I think the motivating factor for a lot of young people now is this is the first chance that they have to be able to buy either an inner city unit and get the stamp duty savings and get the government concessions, which I don't really agree with, but I think if the federal government is giving us free money, it's always a good idea to take it. And they can use that as an impetus to start getting some assets behind them.
And do you think that as this downturn becomes more protracted, that younger people will become more concerned about keeping that job in that tiny little cubicle and will therefore get really real about those saving strategies?
Well, it's a real recession when one of your mates gets laid off, isn't it? It really comes home. I think that's certainly true. And in actual fact, I think that Gen Y, while I don't like generalising, it is true that they have been very flighty. They've been the apple of their baby boomers' eyes. They've been able to basically flit around jobs, go to London, not take things too seriously. I think a really good part of an upside to the downside is that they're going to have to get serious about their job. They're going to have to put in the hours, and that's a great thing to learn at the start of your career, as opposed to the Gen Xers who are in their mid-40s who are really just seeing this now.
All right, Scott Pape, unfortunately we've run out of time. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you.
Thanks so much, Whitney.